So like I said in the little preamble there, is that the whole idea is to create a foundation for your understanding of financial options that you have. And to do that, I've put together a team. Myself is on the left, Glenn, Warren in the middle, and there's Nicole. Okay. And they'll see two names on there, Vaughan Associates and Allquest. Now, we have to use an Allquest name when we're doing disability tax credits, not RDSP, because it's a licensing issue. It has to be a different identity. So just so don't get confused if you see the Allquest name come up along the way. And here and at the end, I put the main contact, which is Nicole Vaughan at Rogers.com, and her phone number. If anybody wants to handle things on an individual basis, they're quite welcome to give us a call. Contact us through Nicole. Now this is we tried this early on. This should have been a video, but I think you're only going to see the audio part. It's got to do with what happens to people that are affected by disability.
Life is like a journey on a sailboat. You board your yacht and sail into the wind towards your destination.
Did you get
along the way, the wind changes, and you make course corrections to keep you in the right direction. But all of a sudden, a storm arises. The wind becomes strong. The seas become rough. You're blown way off course.
Everybody in this meeting, myself included, have had their life blown off course. We're affected, either ourselves or our family have been affected by some form of a restriction brought on, this particular case by MS. Okay, and to add insult to injury, of course, we're all globally affected by the effects of COVID, and those are two major impact items that affect people, and all the more reason to put your financial house in order. And putting your financial house in order, there's really two sides to the equation. One is what you do to save money to create the wealth that you need to sustain your lifestyle, both now and in retirement. Okay. And second is looking after the things that can be a risk that can derail that. Okay. What tools can be used to accomplish those? So we're going to go through just an overview of the type of tools that can be used to offset those risks, find the solutions to protect you and your family against any undue risk. We start by surrounding ourselves with people that can help. Okay, we all need some help. I mean, this type of a Zoom meeting is a support group. It's surrounding yourself with people that can help you with your particular situation. Same is true on financial matters. And there are many financial matters to be contended with. There's management and estate planning, there's wills, power of attorneys, trusts, mortgages, government programs affected specifically for people with disabilities. There's investments, what do you do for retirement, kids' education, insurances of varying, all kinds of different insurances, and get educate yourself, educated on those particular subjects. So make sure you have surrounding yourself with people that can assist you in making the right decisions, helping you select the right product or service that's going to achieve your particular goals. But before we can actually look at what the tools are, we have to kind of figure out what we need to have happen. And that starts financially speaking with, where are you today? Like, have you sat down and you've taken a look at your financial picture? What's your total number? What's your total income? What's your assets? What's your liabilities? Who do you owe money to? What does that cost you in terms of interest rates? Get educated on where you are financially today. And then we start taking a look at where do you want to go to? Is your mandate to buy your first home, to pay down your mortgage? Is it to make sure that you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life in retirement? Is it saving for retirement? There's all kinds of things that you want to have happen. I'm just talking on the financial side. And you'll find that most goals that you want to try and accomplish have some form of financial commitment towards them. For instance, if you want to buy a new car, it's fine to say I want to buy a new car as a goal, but what do you want to buy? You have to be measurable. You have to be specific about it. So it's I want to buy a 2022 something or other. Maybe you should say what it is, an F-150 truck or a Toyota whatever, or whatever it happens to be. And it's going to cost $47,000, and I'm going to buy it by borrowing money, by cash, by whatever it is. If I'm going to be just accumulating money to buy it, what is it? How do I go about that? How many dollars a month do I have to decide? What's my debt servicing going to be if I borrow the money? So get very measurable and specific in the things that you want to have happen. And then start developing those goals. What actions do I need to take to ensure those goals, those objectives are met? And then probably as important as putting the game plan together, what's going to happen, actually probably more important, is the fact that you have to implement it. I've seen so many people say, my goal is to do da, 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 and they don't do anything about it. Well, you know what? You're not going to get there because you haven't done anything about it. So you have to implement the game plan. If it's setting aside $50 a month to do that, or pay down a debt, or accumulate to in your RSPs, your tax-free savings, whatever it happens to be, you need to actually do it. You can't just talk about it. Okay. And without taking the implementation, the plan and the implementation together, you're at the risk of not getting to where you want to go. Okay. One of the tools that probably three components that we need to keep in mind as we're putting together our strategy, our game plan, is time, return on investments and money, and the actual money that you accumulate. To give you an example, if I was 30 years old, which I'm not, and I said I want to retire at age 55, I have lots of time available to me to implement that game plan. And the amount of money that I need to put aside is going to be smaller per month, and the return I have to get on that investment, i.e. the risk I have to take to get a return, is going to be lower. If I'm now 50 years old and I want to retire at 60 years old, and I haven't hardly done anything, time's not your friend. Okay, you have to either get a very high return on your money, okay, which increases risk, or you have to set aside a significantly larger amount of money in that shorter time period to accomplish what you want to do. Or I guess finally is you have to say to yourself, you know what, I can't retire at age 65. I'm going to have to work till I'm 70 or 72 or something to give yourself that new expanded time frame to accomplish what you want to do. Otherwise, you risk not having enough money to sustain your lifestyle. There's a couple of rules of the game or fundamentals that, in terms of knowledge that you have to or should learn just to give you a handle on things. And that's the list of them there. I'm going to go through a little bit of detail on them. For instance, this first rule it's a rule of thumb. Okay. It's called a rule of 72. And I don't know if anybody's heard of it or not, but if you take the number 72 and you divide it by the interest rate you're getting on your money, it tells you how long it's going to take you to double your money. So if you got 10% return, which is kind of hard to get today. Okay. If you're going to if you're going to get 10% on your money, it's going to take 7.2 years for it to double. Likewise, if you're going to get 6% return on your money, or lowering the risk, it's going to take you 12 years to double your money. And if you got 2%, you put your money in a 5-year GIC, which today doesn't even count if you get 2%. Okay, it's going to take you 36 years to double your money. So return
And Bob,
on your money,
would the 2% be more representative of what's available right now?
correct. Yeah,
Okay,
well,
thank you.
it depends on the investment. Okay, but about 2% would represent what you would get at a bank with a 5-year GIC. That's somewhere under that actual amount. So if you got money sitting in the bank, thinking you're saving, you are saving principal. You're not necessarily being able to make it grow to a significant amount. And hence, if you've got targeting it for your retirement, it can affect what your retirement back, or it'll start 3 different things. The time frame by which you retire. This whole compounding interest thing, I put it in another format. And I did this particular chart for a younger couple, so it's over a 30-year time frame, but it can be anything you want. The concept's the same. If you put $100 a month, top right, left, top left-hand corner, put $100 a month away, and you got 2.5%. Over that 30 years, you would have put away $36,000. Sounds like a lot of money. But accumulated interest of $17,000, which gave you at the end of 30 years $53,000 by putting your $100 a month away. Okay, step one. If by chance you took the same $100 a month, but over the same 30 years, everything would be the same, but you got a 7% return, not a 2.5% return. That bottom line total values on from $52,000 to $121,000. If you had 11% return, same scenario, it increases to $280,000 total value. And finally, if you have a 14% return, that same contribution of $100 a month at 14% return gets $549,297. So having a different return on your money has this very, very significant. You've gone from $53,000 to $500,000 by doing nothing more than getting an increase in your investment interest. Okay, now you got to remember that going from 2%, 2.5% to 4% is an increase in risk. Okay, because the likelihood at 14% to get is that the investment return is going to be risk of going down as well as it going up. Okay. So that's it. There we go. Okay, so let's just take another step. The other thing that affects that return on your money is the tax treatment of that money and inflation. Now, these are the tools and general terms you have to own to understand how your money is being impacted through savings. If by chance your investment got a 3% return, inflation was 2.5%. Inflation is something that's been pretty muted and quiet for the last number of years around here. However, in the investment community, it's a big underlying concern with what's going on in the economy right now. Okay, brought on by all the stimulus from the government, all the CERB programs, all in Canada, the United States, globally. Okay, there's a huge, huge concern that inflation rears its head, and probably in a big way for the next couple of years. Okay, so what that means to you is if your saving was 3% on your money, whatever that pot of money is, and inflation was 2.5%, your ability to buy things is reduced by the cost of inflation, so that your dollar's not worth as much; it's worth less. Okay, So that loaf of bread that you're buying is going to be worth less money. But to add insult to injury, the government comes along at the end of the year when you make 3% interest on your money, and they go, oh, wait a minute now, you made a profit of 3% on your money, and you're in a 30% tax bracket. So I want 30% of that paid to me in income tax. So you now have 0.9% of that 3% has gone to the government on taxation. So now your buying power, the value of your dollar that you had the year before is 0.4% less than the year before. You can buy less things. Example, bigger long-term picture so we can put that into perspective. When I was a kid, we used to get out of Broadview Queen downtown Toronto. And my parents, we got 5 kids, so you bought as economically as you could. We bought a rack of bread on a weekly basis, and that each loaf of bread was 10 cents. Okay. Now that very same loaf of bread is about $2.85. That's over a long period of time, but that's the effect of inflation. The bread is not 28.5% bigger or better or anything. It's the same, basically the same bread, but it's 28.5 times more expensive. That's inflation. Okay. When I bought my very first car, I drove it off a lot as a brand new car with license plates, stickers, the whole 9 yards for $1,750. I cannot put tires on my SUV today for that much money. That's inflation. It sneaks up on you over time. And if you put that same concept of long-term impact into your financial picture, you have to allow for inflation to accommodate your long-term sustained income for yourself. Because if you retire at 65 and you live to 85 or 95, there's a 30-year time frame where you're going to be exposed to inflation. Your cost of medication, your cost of dwelling, accommodate rental or purchase, is all going to go up. So those things have to be built into your financial game plan. And it may seem like nothing at the time, but it is a huge, huge impact on the financial picture. Then where do you put your money and what does that mean? So investment risk is the next category of things. Can you sleep at night? If you put money into something that, like as an example of that 4-section chart we saw a minute ago, a 14%, that's in today's market, extremely high risk. Okay. I like to invest in private mortgages, private second mortgages. Okay. I've learned, I got educated on, I understand it, and even in this marketplace, I'm not, because there's too much risk even for me. But for years, I've done those, and that gives about 14% return. Okay. But with my understanding of the marketplace and my understanding of the investment, my risk tolerance has increased. So that understanding has given me a comfort to investing, and I've never lost money at it. Okay. However, I also don't put all my eggs in that basket. I have things that are different than that as well. Like I said, in this marketplace, that's too risky an investment even for me. So I lower my risk so I can still sleep at night. And of course, the older we get, the more conservative we want to be. When you're 30 years old and something goes wrong and you lose a bunch of money, you have a lifetime ahead of you to try and save up to recoup that loss. When you're 60 and 70 years old and you lose that kind of money, you don't have enough hours a day to get back to where you were. So you have to be more conservative as time goes on. But the younger we are, we can afford to take some of the risks if it's appropriate. So we take a look at what tools can be used to put a clear financial picture together for you. Okay. Some of the tools that we're going to talk about are RSPs, Registered Retirement Savings Plan. It's kind of interesting over the years. Now people are getting more educated on this, but I used to sit out and when I sat down with clients and say, okay, let's talk about your investment. What have you got? You have an RSP? Yes, we do. Okay. What's invested in? It's an RSP, Bob. What's in your RSP? I asked. They go, Bob, I don't understand. I don't know what you. Oh, it's so confusing. It's not RSP. I went to the bank. I said to the teller, I want an RSP. She gave me an RSP. And he's paying stuff an RSP. That's a lack of knowledge. RSPs are a cup. Okay. In a cup is a shell, and inside that cup you can put different things. Example: by comparison, if you had a cup, you could put tea, coffee, milk, juice, water, beer, wine. They all go inside the cup. And the reason why you put different things in the cup is because they have different features, different values to you, different tastes. Okay. In an RSP, you can put a variety of things. You can put term deposits, GIC, daily interest accounts, mortgages, investment funds, okay, stocks, bonds. All those things can go into the RRSP cup. So, depending on your risk tolerance, whether you can sleep at night or not, will determine what type of thing you will put in that RSP cup, and how it will, and what you put in will determine in the long term what kind of return you get on the money that's in there, how much it grows. Okay. Now, an RSP, by definition, in terms of what it does, if you put money into it, Revenue Canada says, oh, you put money into your long-term savings, so the money you put in, we're going to use that to reduce your taxable income, so you don't pay as much income tax that year. So you in effect get a tax credit or tax refunded because you put money into an RSP. All the money times the money's inside that RRSP cup, no matter what the investment is going to grow and compound without paying any tax on it the whole time you're in it. The significance there is because you're not paying taxes while it's inside the RRSP cup, it grows faster. By comparison, if you had the same investment but it was outside of the RSP cup or outside of the cup, it was what they call non-registered money, okay, and it grew 10%, okay, Revenue Canada outside the cup's going to say, give me that 30% or 40%, whatever the tax bracket is, of the profit as taxes that year. So the next year you're making your profit, your principal minus the debt, the taxes on the thing, and then it grows to it. So, but if you've been inside the RSP, they don't pay their hand out that year. So the money stays at 10% higher than it was and grows on your principal plus 10%, and then grows on that. So all the time it's inside the RSP cup, it's tax sheltered. Now, when we retire, when we need to draw that money down, you pay tax on it. But you don't need to necessarily draw the money down all at once. So you're not likely to pay as much taxes coming out as you saved going in. And you've had all those years of money growing without taxation on it. The reason why RIF is sitting there beside it is a category. When we're 71 years old in Canada under the law, we have to convert RRSP monies to something else. We cash it in, which would be absolutely silly because we have to pay tax on all the money that's in there. Or we buy an annuity, okay, which puts the money into another category of investment that will guarantee the payment of money to you for as long, they once called term service, for 10 years, 20 years, for life. Whatever you want to have happen can be done but it's in a low interest rate environment like which we're in now. It's probably not a very good idea because you wouldn't get very big return on your money. And then thirdly is to keep it invested just like you did with the RSPs, but you put it into a registered retirement savings plan. But it has to go into one of those three categories. Okay.
Bob, can I jump in?
Yes.
We're over 30 minutes. I think we're at 35 or 40 now.
Yes.
And do you have much further to go on this portion before we can we wrap tonight?
Can I have 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll do it in 5. Okay.
Thank you.
So, I'll talk quicker. All right. Okay, so give you an example, some things can go into an investment that you want to consider. First of all, you don't want to have undue risk. So diversifying your money, putting it into different categories. An investment fund is a good idea. People are more commonly aware of things called a mutual fund. Okay. That's an option. It's because you're not putting all your money in one basket, one egg. You're not investing everything in Spotify or IDM because that one may go up or down as an individual one, but there's a risk attached to that. You may want to have into a fund that has 60 different companies in it. And if one goes down, the average stays high. Okay. If one goes off the market, if one goes it's still an averaging thing. But in the cup, and by the way, those type of things can fit into an RSP cup or a TFSA cup, tax-free savings account, which is another excellent tool. Or they can, and then you can choose between what's called segregated fund and mutual fund. Segregated fund, with the community that we're talking about tonight, people are affected by disability, is an extremely good tool, segregated fund, because it can be used to offset things from, it's an exemption tool for ODSP. You can inherit money, put $100,000 into a segregated fund and not lose your ODSP benefit. In exactly the same scenario with a mutual fund, you would lose it. Also, the segregated fund has other features like credit proofing. If your financial picture got really bad because of your health, and you end up being bankrupt, if money's in the segregated fund, they can't touch it. Okay, so that's a couple of features. TFSA is another couple.
So if you're coming into some money, we got to figure that out.
Okay. TFSA is exactly the same tools, put that into an RSP, except you don't pay tax on the money ever. Okay. You don't put the tax credit in the beginning, but you put it, when it comes out, if you're into the retirement phase of life, you need money for your RSP, you have to take out $1.30 because you're 30% tax interest, get $1 in your hand. If you're taking money from a TFSA, you take $1 because you don't pay any tax on the money. Okay, you get to keep more in the money fund. Okay, TFSAs, I'm trying to do. Probate, big issue when somebody passes away. Okay. In Ontario, your probate, the rule of a little more detail, but basically 1.5% of the asset values goes to the Canadian government as a probate fee. So if you saved up RSP money, TFSA money, savings money, house, anything of that asset value, it's subject to probate unless you put into a probate an exempt asset, which is something we can talk about. Again, we're running out of time. I can name the beneficiaries, which makes the money go directly to them, bypasses probate, and saves a lot of money. In fact, I'm doing planning for a 94-year-old lady right now. We're saving $6,000 to her family in probate fees.
Wow.
You know. Yeah. Okay. So basically, we're looking at solutions to be offset. We're talking in more detail on the June 23rd session. with regards to risk management tools relative to insurances. And by the way, there's not just one type of, multiple types of insurance. You got to understand how to apply them to your situation. So that's a to be discussed. I will say in terms of different types of insurance, life, critical illness, group insurance, group creditor insurance, which is what you put on your mortgage at the bank, but it's not guaranteed. So it's just word to the wise. Listen closely on the 23rd. We'll go through what the differences are there. Long-term care, meaning healthcare issues, disability, for this particular group, non-medical insurance for people with MS. Okay, so you don't have to qualify for medical. They don't. I got life insurance for MS. Okay, this is long before this product include, but there's a product out there now, and we've got a large number of MS clients who have qualified for the particular products that are out there. Okay, so that's something that offset risks for family, risks that ensure the family's got money if something happens to you, to maintain lifestyle, to pay down the debt and the mortgage, to put the kids through education. If they're fortunate enough to have money left to donate to others, or what they call a legacy. Wills, power of attorneys, trusts. I'll spend a little bit more time on that in the final session, just I'll include it. But very important that we create wills and power of attorneys to make our wishes known to the world. If we're either unable mentally or physically to make decisions and we're still alive, that's a power of attorney. If you pass away and you want your money to do a certain allocation, that's a will. Okay, you have to have an executor for that will. What is their role? The executors have liability. What is the liability? What risks are they taking on? How do we bypass probate? How do we reduce credit exposure? Those things are very important. The whole idea here is to give you mental peace of mind, okay, and put your financial house in order.